I was just excited to see you guys again. How have you enjoyed Awesomeness Fest so far? Awesome. So what I'm going to talk about is basically the answer to the most common question I get from all of you. And it is, Vishen, you have such an incredible team. I mean, Tanya and Mia and Jason and everyone I meet, from the photographers to the people who are running around with mics, everybody seems to be really unique. How did you attract these people to come and work for you? And that's what I want to share. I want to give you a simple 7-step plan that you can apply to your company. Even if you're a startup, even if you're just getting started, this simple 7-step method of thinking about building teams will change the way and the speed at which you take any idea that you have in your head and bring that idea to reality. Also, as a bonus, the way I do it, it'll make your life happier, you'll have more fun, you'll be more at ease, and your life will be so much more enjoyable. So let's get started. Firstly, as a recap, Mindvalley builds education startups. So our biggest products are things such as Mindvalley Academy, which is an online academy for personal growth, or our apps such as Omvada. And we do many projects all around the world. I think we have about 15 or so different companies and apps and software. But the thing is, all of this was done by teams. A lot of these ideas did not emerge from my mind. They emerged from the minds of the 150 plus people that work for Mindvalley. Peter Diamandis had this amazing quote, which I love. Small teams driven by their passion with a clear focus can do extraordinary things, things that only large corporations and governments could do in the past. I believe the world is moving into a we cycle. Michael Drew, who's somewhere here in the audience, in his book Pendulum said, we're moving away from an individualistic cycle into a we cycle. And what this means is that the great innovations happening in the world right now are happening not from individuals, but from teams. Even if you look at a company like Apple, it's not just Steve Jobs. He is driving the vision, but he's got an incredible team. Tim Cook, Jonathan Ives, the team that comes together to conceptualize, create, get out to the world, those epic inventions. The same applies to you. If you want to make a decent mark in the world, you can probably do it yourself. You want to make a massive mark, you're going to have to learn to rally a team. And this is the era of teams with new tools, new technologies. As Peter Diamandis says, teams can do things that once only governments could do. So what we're going to talk about is how to attract a team, how to build a team, and how to rally that team around your vision so you can accelerate the speed at which that vision happens. So Mindvalley is a cultural anomaly, and here's why. We have 150 people who come from 40 plus countries working in Kuala Lumpur. This is what is so strange about it. Firstly, Kuala Lumpur is not London, it's not Paris, it's not a place where, you know, when you're in high school, you tell your friends, someday I'm going to grow up and move to Kuala Lumpur. Yet, we've been able to get people from all around the world to move to Kuala Lumpur to work for Mindvalley. First thing is, it's not one of the world's greatest cities. It's a nice city, but it's definitely not San Francisco or Paris. But the second thing is, Kuala Lumpur is a mid-income city. In other words, it has the same salary parity as Eastern Europe. So if you're coming there from the West, you're actually taking a salary cut. We're at the same salary level as countries like Estonia or Ukraine and so on. So you would think that it would be difficult to get people from Eastern Europe or India or China to move to Kuala Lumpur, but we are getting them, even though they can get much better jobs in London or the US or Australia. But what's even weirder is we are attracting people from London, from the US, from Canada, from Australia, from high-wage countries to move to Kuala Lumpur for Malaysian salaries. Why? This seems to defy normal economics. This is what I want to share. Well, it happened by necessity. In 2003, I'd been living in the US. I started Mindvalley in New York City. I'd been living in the US for about 9 years. Lived there with my wife. I wanted to be an American. I wanted to get my green card, wanted to settle in the US. But the years after September 11 were a tough time for anyone hoping to immigrate to the US. I couldn't get my passport, my visa approved, so I had to move back to Kuala Lumpur. It was a really, really, really sad decision for me. In retrospect, I think it was the right decision. But when I moved back, the first thing my friends told me, my friends back home in KL, as we call it for short, said, "Why are you here? There is no talent here. There's no way you're going to be able to build a company, build that dream vision of yours in KL." And they were right, because in Kuala Lumpur at that time, the country was going through massive brain drain. The World Bank had warned the Malaysian government that if they didn't halt this brain drain, the economy was never going to grow. 1% of the country was leaving every year for better jobs in Hong Kong or Singapore or Australia. So it was a messy situation. Now, I had no choice. I had a Malaysian passport. I had to build my company in Kuala Lumpur. I could not live in the US. So to me, it was do or die. Now, I'm a big believer in Buckminster Fuller and his worldview. He says, I'm paraphrasing, but when you're faced with an intractable problem, don't focus on the problem. Create instead a vision that renders the problem obsolete. So we thought, how could I create a vision that renders this brain drain problem obsolete? And the vision was, I want to build the world's greatest workplace. And I'm going to do it in Kuala Lumpur. Damn reality. I don't give a damn about brain drain or the fact that we are a mid-income country. I want to build a workplace that can challenge Google, Facebook, the great workplaces of Silicon Valley or London or New York, and I'm going to do it in my city. That became the vision. And for the next 5 years, I worked relentlessly trying to figure out how to make that vision happen. Here's what ended up happening. Mindvalley ended up becoming one of the greatest private companies to work in. Our office got voted in 2012 by Inc. magazine one of the top 10 coolest workplaces in the world. We just got covered by BBC as a cultural anomaly because we're attracting talent, according to BBC, to the middle of nowhere. We attract now talent from 40 plus countries. You walk into our office and you would hear as many as 50 different languages. In short, brain drain never touched us. We've been draining brains from the rest of the world into Kuala Lumpur. But the cool part is when Malaysians see that, many Malaysians who work at Mindvalley decided to stay in Malaysia. Because when they saw foreigners struggling to come in, they decided, well, look, there must be opportunity here. So we've been able to assemble an amazing team, people who are moving to Kuala Lumpur rather than the usual suspects like San Fran or London. Take, for example, our customer support team. We have a customer support team in Kuala Lumpur. But if you look at this picture, these are the 15 people on our team as of 2 weeks ago. What's unique is every single one of them holds a passport from a different country. This is beautiful. It's fun. It makes coming to work exciting because it's such a diverse team. They're all brilliant. They all competed in YouTube cover letter competitions to come and do customer support at Mindvalley. But because they are such exceptional individuals, our customer support rankings are through the roof. We score, according to Nice Reply, which is a customer agent ranking service, we score in the top 1 to 2% of all companies in the world with this tiny team because we're able to attract the best. And the impact on employees has been amazing. So I love the growth we get at Mindvalley, but I love seeing the growth in our employees because when smart people come together, they multiply each other's intelligence. So we have a whole list of famous employees that have emerged from Mindvalley. Our employees have written best-selling books. Our employees have become major Silicon Valley investors. Our employees lecture at universities. There was one particular month when back then we had 80 employees and 18 out of 80, or a good 25% of our entire team that month were either speaking on stage, covered in the press, on television, had a book published, or were on a speaking tour. Now imagine what you can do if you can attract talent like this. So here's the craziest part, right? When I started Mindvalley, I was broke. I started it for $700. That was all the startup capital I had. I approached several of my closest friends from college, asked them if they wanted to come and work with me. All of them said no because they thought the idea was insane. I mean, we were trying to sell this thing called meditation through the internet, right? Who's going to buy that stuff? Like people who come to Awesomeness Fest, seriously. No one else. But with $700, we built a company that is now pushing a valuation of over 100 million without ever taking any VC money, loans, or grants. No VCs. This is an anomaly. This is an anomaly in Silicon Valley, let alone in Kuala Lumpur. And we are still doing it serving the US market. So most of all our customers, all our partners are all American-based. So how can you do this? I've tried to remember, recapture, and rethink how this happened, to put it into because I'm writing a book on this, and I want to give you a formula that you can take into your life so you can build, attract, and rally teams around your vision. This is what we're going to cover. But first, I want to dispel a big myth on culture. A lot of people think perks are culture. It's not. Perks such as Beautiful office spaces, healthcare, health insurance are not culture. They are perks. Culture is something a lot more undefined, but I'm going to attempt to define it in this presentation. Okay, so 7 steps to creating powerful culture. The first thing you want to do is you want to understand how to attract the right people. So the attraction is the first stage. Here's the big mistake people make when you're attracting people. You write job ads. People do not care about job ads. Have you ever heard about this man, Simon Sinek? He gave one of the best TED Talks of all time. And he wrote a book called Start With Why. Now, Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Let me repeat. People don't care what you do. They care why you do it. So when you're writing your job ad, most people make the classic mistake. This is the typical job ad. They talk about what that job is going to entail. The salary, the position, the task. Real talent do not care. Real talent have an underlying emotion on why they take jobs. And I'll share what really drives them. But your job ad needs to speak to that underlying emotion. If you look at the Mindvalley job ad, go to mindvalley.com/careers, you'll see that our job ad is really a manifesto. We talk about 9 reasons why Mindvalley is redefining work and why you should join Mindvalley. We talk about the freedom to be yourself. We talk about amazing teammates. Believe it or not, people care about this. Now, we have a beautiful office, yes. But when we started attracting talent, we did not have a beautiful office. We did not have a beautiful website. That was our website and what our manifesto looked like. You can see it's really just plain text. That is what our office looked like. So you do not have any excuse. That's actually our office when we first started out. And even back then, we were attracting remarkable talent. Some of the people in these pictures have gone on to become legendary entrepreneurs. That guy is now one of Malaysia's most famous entrepreneurs. And recently he invested in one of my ideas, but he started out as employee number 11. So you do not need a good office. What you need to do is to understand the underlying emotion on why people want to work for you. So here's what I mean by that. Why do people really want a job? Believe it or not, it's not for salary, it's not for position. I've interviewed 2,000 plus people, and I found that what people really want from a job are these 4 things: growth, happiness, abundance, or contribution. So when I'm interviewing someone, I take out my iPad and I draw this diagram, okay? And I ask them, I'm going to give you 10 to 12 markers. Put a tick on what is important to you, okay? And what I find is that most people tend to value things such as happiness or growth. So this simple exercise helps me understand what's going on in the candidate's mind. And now when I'm having a conversation with the candidate, let's say, for example, this person here, obviously education, growth is important to them. So I make the conversation around what they're going to learn, how they're going to grow when they join Mindvalley. So this is a really important item. And understanding these 4 things, when you're writing your job ad, you emphasize this. So if you look at our manifesto, it talks about how Mindvalley is going to boost your happiness, how Mindvalley is going to help you grow, Mindvalley is going to help you contribute to the world. All of those things matter to people far more than regular jobs. So we attract talent like crazy because of our job ads. Our job ads get shared on Facebook. That's how compelling they are. Part 2, the application process. So, okay, it's not just about the job ad. Once talent starts coming to you, you need to have a solid application process. One of the things we found is that resumes are silly. You cannot tell how good someone is from a resume. So we don't ask for resumes. We ask people to create a simple little video cover letter on YouTube and to upload it if they want a job at Mindvalley. So if you go to YouTube, you type in Mindvalley space cover space letter, you'll see close to 1,000 cover letters from people all around the world applying for jobs at Mindvalley. We found that 100 resumes equal 1 video cover letter. In short, when we were asking for resumes, for a single position, we'd get 2,000 resumes. When we said, we do not care about your resume, send us one, but we'll only review it if you include a video cover letter, 2,000 resumes goes to 20 videos, and then we choose 1 out of 20. It makes the process so much more elegant, and we only get really incredible people. I want to show you some of the videos that we get. This was a short animated pencil-drawn film by someone we ended up hiring. She spent 300 man-hours creating this video. Do you think we hired her? Yes. And she went on to lead and run our film team. Amazing individual. This one was a guy from Romania. Check out this video. Could I have sound, please?
Mindvalley.
Mindvalley. Mindvalley. Mindvalley.
Mindvalley. Mindvalley.
And back to me. Hi there, Mindvalley. I'm Alex, and I'll take you on a short journey of soul searching and passion hunting.
People apply to us with the equivalent of small 3-minute short films. Remember Tanya? You want to check out Tanya's video? This is Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya Lopez, and this is my video submission for the world's most awesome job. Where are you shooting from? I can see it in your camera. I think that this
Tanya had like a rock music feel to her video. So imagine if you are getting talent like this, right, through video, okay? But another tip. So the first tip is ask for videos. You will be able to connect with real individuals, and only really committed people are going to create that video. So you don't waste time going through hundreds of resumes, which will increase the odds of you picking the wrong person. Ask for videos. Secondly, we get a lot of our talent through this organization called ISAC. It's a nonprofit that was started after World War II to exchange brilliant graduates between countries so that you would have cross-cultural communication between countries that were once at war. A good 40 of our 150 employees come from ISAC. It is our single biggest recruiting source because the people we get from ISAC are amazing. Mindvalley right now has 2 CEOs running Mindvalley. Both of them are from ISAC. If you look at our leadership team, which is comprised of 9 individuals, 5 of them are from ISAC. Our strongest talent tend to come from ISAC. So even about half of the crew here at Awesomeness Fest come from ISAC. Now, I really want to make sure you guys understand and use this organization. They are non-profit. Their marketing sucks. You go to their website, you will not even understand what they do, okay? But you will get great talent. And they operate in 89 different countries. So no matter where you're from, there's an ISAC chapter, okay? And they send your job application out to like their network of 800 universities. So you get university students who come from internships, but also fresh grads, but brilliant fresh grads. Many of the CEOs we have at Mindvalley, CEOs are put in charge of businesses, came as fresh grads. 5 years later, they were so amazing at what they did, they were running $20 million plus companies. That's what you get from this organization. Now, I understand that there are 2 representatives from ISAC here in the room. Could you please stand up, just so we can see you? Go talk to that man. Okay, now, second thing is finding the right fit. So, you have people applying, you have the video cover letters. How do you know if this person is a fit for your job? Here's a really, really, really important story I want you to remember. Zig Ziglar speaks about this one time he came into a company to do a consulting session for their management team. So he brought their managers into a room and he said, I want you to make a list of all the attributes of your best employees. So they made a list. It went on to about 100 different attributes. Zig pressed on. He said, let's keep going for another hour. Let's really push this. Let's make a list of every attribute we can think of. They kept going for another 1 hour. Now they came up with 114 attributes. Zig then looked at all these attributes and put an A or an S on them. A stood for attitude. S stood for skill. So something such as PHP coding would be a skill. Something such as positive and passionate would be an attitude. Happy at work would be an attitude. Helpful would be an attitude. What they found is that out of 114 attributes of the perfect employee, can you guess how many were attitudes and how many were skills? 107 were attitudes, 7 were skills. Yet, think about the average job ad. What are you asking for? We ask for skills. Yet our best employees tend to be the ones with the right attitudes. The idea here is that you hire for attitude, you train for skill. Many of the top people in Mindvalley did not have specific skills in the jobs they are in, such as organizing a conference like this, hosting an event, copywriting. But they were smart, they were brilliant, they had the right attitude. They could learn and be trained for that skill. Hire for attitude, train for skill. This advice saved me so much hassle from working with the wrong individuals. Google recently, there was a recent article on Google's hiring policy, right? And the article was called The #1 Google Tip on Hiring. So Laszlo Bock, who is Google's hiring chief, says, the #1 thing was to have an incredibly high bar for talent and never compromise. Larry and Sergey figured out early on that there's a reversion to the mean when you don't. Let's say you hire a great person. They'll hire someone almost as good, who hires someone almost as good, and over time you're hiring average people. You have to draw a line. This was another really important tip I got. So at Mindvalley, we draw a line. It's called the bar of awesomeness. Every time I'm interviewing someone, I think about this imaginary bar of awesomeness, which represents the average levels of awesomeness on my team. Now, there's no scientific methodology for it. It's all just imaginary. But I ask myself, is this person falling above or below the bar? And if they fall below the bar, no matter how desperate I am to fill that position, I will not fill that position. So over time, the quality of people on your team and the bar keeps getting higher and higher and higher. That was another really important lesson I have. You must know your bar of awesomeness. You must have a steadfast rule that you will not hire below the bar, no matter how desperate you are, no matter how important that project is. That is a recipe for long-term disaster. You only hire above the bar. Everyone get this? Yes. So ask yourself this. Will the person raise the overall bar of awesomeness within my company, or will they drop it? Now, how do you do this? Well, one of the first things I figured out is that friends of people tend to be as smart as them. You tend to hang out with people, your closest friends tend to be people who are as brilliant as you, who share similar attitudes. So there was this one particular time, I spent $3,000 putting up a massive recruiting ad in a major job site. I got thousands upon thousands of resumes, and they were crap. Just mediocre people blasting their resumes to every job they saw. So I decided to pull that ad and to stop spending big money on job websites. Instead, I took that $3,000 and I told my HR team, I want you to spend this money on the best damn party you can think of. And then I gave all my employees a ticket and a second ticket. And I said, with this second ticket, invite the most brilliant person you know. That became a new policy for recruiting to true parties. So they would invite the most brilliant people we know. And at the party, they would introduce me, and we would get to talking, and often I would hire them. So we end up meeting and hiring amazing people through parties. That was where we got some of our biggest talent. Mia, who's hosting Awesomeness Fest, hired at last year's Awesomeness Fest party. Now we're on to tip number 3. You must know your values. So every company, even if you're just getting started, even if it's just 2 people, you must define a set of common values. These values are going to save you so much time in the long run. These are our values. Starting with, we dare to dream big, we evolve through learning. Here's how we developed them. 7 years ago, we brought our entire team together. Back then, we were maybe 40 or 50 people. We asked everyone to come up with a list of 10 things about Mindvalley that they felt represented the company. We then had our HR department spend an entire day going through 40 people's 10 list, meaning 400 different items, and sticking them on walls and trying to correlate them and find commonalities. We identified 10 different trends. These trends became our code of awesomeness. 7 years later, they still define how we measure awesomeness in the company. And these values are so important that every new person we hire take an oath on the code of awesomeness. So it's something that we constantly reinforce. If you walk into our office, you will see the code of awesomeness created into art format, hanging across walls everywhere. This is really important. It speeds up decision making. For example, see that line over there? Turn customers into raving fans. Every time we have to make a decision that we know has a lever between making more sales or dropping the quality of our product, we know where we stand. We will stand with turning customers into raving fans. So it helps you wrap up meetings faster. It also helps you eject poor performers. Recently, I had to fire a senior manager who had been hired. She was with the company for about 3 months because she violated a key value, which is transparency and candor. She spoke ill of another employee behind that employee's back, rather than addressing the fact face to face. We don't tolerate that. Fired her on the spot. Now, it may sound harsh, but when you practice that, when you practice firm adherence to common values that you came up with as a tribe, you have a common understanding. And this understanding helps you function better. And it helps you make sure that the people whom you're bringing in are people who connect and align with your values. So, your common code helps you speed up decision making. And so let's summarize all 3 of our first items, right? Create job ads that appeal to the heart, to the underlying emotion. Number 1, know your bar and hire for attitude, not skill. Number 3, define your values and live by them. These are the first 3. There are 4 more tips that I want to give you. You guys like this so far? Yes. Okay, so let's go on to the 4. Recognize this? These are the next 4. Happiness, growth, meaning, and abundance. Now, the beautiful thing is, when you start adding this to your company, and you start creating ways for employees to be happy, for employees to grow, these become your new job ad. So when you create your new job ad, you now know what to talk about, because I've given you a framework for understanding the underlying emotions of why people join tribes and companies. So let's start with the first one, right? Happiness. Here are a couple of simple steps you can do to inject happiness in your company. But first off, why is happiness important? Well, according to Sean Aker in his book, The Happiness Advantage, it turns out that our brains are literally hardwired to perform at their best, not when they are negative or even neutral, but when they are positive. Doctors, for example, make diagnoses 19% faster. Salespeople, optimistic salespeople, outsell pessimists by 56%. Students primed to be happy outperform their more neutral peers. Happiness gives you a huge productivity boost. But what makes us happy, right? And how can you engineer happiness into your workspace? Turns out, science and studies have shown us that there are a few simple things you can do. You know, one of the biggest attributes to happiness in workspace is simply flex time. Gallup did a study, right? And they found that of all workplace benefits, flex time yielded the strongest relationship to overall well-being between employees. What this means is simply ditch the idea of 9 to 5. It doesn't matter. If you look at companies like Virgin, they even just announced unlimited holidays. We might be going in that direction too. Who cares about 9 to 5? If you're hiring the right people, you don't have to have them abide by a clock. So ditch 9 to 5, giving people flexibility to work at the hours they choose, as long as they get their job done, is one of the biggest things that create employee engagement, loyalty, and happiness. Another big thing that helps create happy workspaces, social support. So a Harvard study called the Very Happy People Study showed that nothing corresponds to happiness more than the strength of your social connections. Nothing. Not warm weather, not great clothes, not a higher salary. It was all about strength of your social connections. The correlation was 0.7, which is extremely significant. So how do you create social connections within a company? Because it's one of the easiest ways that lead to happiness. Well, a couple of simple steps. Have lots and lots and lots of social events and parties. Where do you think we got our party ideas for Awesomeness Fest? At Mindvalley, we practice partying a lot. So Richard Branson, in one of his books, wrote this. He said, and I would advise this to all business leaders. This should be part of every business plan. Have lots and lots and lots of parties. In another book, Branson spoke about how one of his parties got massive bad press. He had opened up a call center in the UK for Virgin Mobile, right? And apparently they tossed this massive party for the new staff that came in, and it got a little bit wild. So the next day, this article appeared in the newspapers where journalists wrote about how degrading that Virgin party was. Apparently, according to the journalists, there were people fornicating in the parking lots. And Branson was really upset about this. He's like, I can't believe that they chose to just write about the negative. But he soon got over that, because the next day, he had 2,000 applicants for his call center. So he also said, and I would advise this to every business leader, toss lots of parties and be the first person in the pool. I take that very seriously. By the way, pool party tonight at Awesomeness Fest starting at 7:30. In the book Good to Great, Jim Collins says the people we interviewed from good to great companies clearly loved what they did, largely because they loved who they did it with. If you have a company where people dislike working with each other, that is a huge recipe for disaster. So you want to create tribes where people love working with you and love working with each other. Friendship at work gets bad press. That's dumb. Friendship at work needs to be recognized, people need to push for it. So Gallup found that close work friendships boost employee satisfaction by a whopping 50%, and people with a best friend at work are 7 times more engaged at work. That was mind-blowing to me when I first read this study. But what it means is encourage your employees to be friends with each other. Third, positive moods. So studies have shown, again from Sean Aker, when leaders are in a positive mood, their employees are more likely to be in a positive mood themselves and to exhibit pro-social helping behavior towards one another and to coordinate tasks more efficiently and with less efforts. What this means is that when your managers, your leaders are primed to be positive, it has this weird effect on the rest of the team. It seems to permeate. How do you do this? At Mindvalley, we do this thing called culture days. Every 2 weeks, we cannot go 2 weeks without having a culture day in the office. So again, we have people from 40 different nationalities. And if we have more than 5 people from a certain country, they get to choose a day of the year and turn the office into a massive celebration of their day. So we've had Malaysia Day, we've had India Day, where everyone comes to work dressed in saris. We've even had Latin Day, where everybody comes to work and starts the day with a margarita and salsa dancing after 5 p.m. So these culture days are really cool. Now, if you have a singular work culture, like American culture, right? Just one particular group of culture, create your own culture days. Make up your own celebrations. I love mustaches. So I created Cash and Heels Day, where all the men come to work in mustaches and all the women get to come to work in heels. And people loved it. You can create your own quirky culture days. Now, what do you think this does in a workspace? It gives people the freedom to be themselves. It allows them to be celebratory. It allows them to be positive. All of this, scientists show, actually has a positive effect on their productivity, on their output. So in summary, happiness, flexi time, ditch the 9 to 5, social support, create and encourage friendships at work. And third, foster positive moods by bringing in an element of fun, such as culture days. So now we're number 4. Now we'll go on to number 5. Can you guys remember what's number 5? Back when I first started out in entrepreneurship, I loved this quote by Dwight Eisenhower. It said, leadership is getting people to do things you want done because they want to do it. Now, that quote is probably good for the 50s when Eisenhower was alive, right? But today, it doesn't seem to sound right. It sounds more like coercion. So at Mindvalley, we came up with our own little definition of what it means to be a good leader. And here's that definition. Leadership is recognizing that we are all one, that every person you lead is as brilliant as you, as talented as you, and has the same capacity for growth and accomplishment. They simply need to be reminded of this fact. Wow. The beauty in that quote is recognizing that everyone you bring on can be as great as you, but your job as a leader is to groom them. This creates growth, and growth is a really powerful element of strong company culture. So how do we do this? Well, here are a couple of tips you can take back into your business. Number 1, free Amazon accounts. So people get to put in a book list, and we buy all the books people want. So we use a particular software in our company. If you walk into Mindvalley, there are literally 1,000+ books lying in bookshelves all across the office. We use delicious-monster.com. It's a brilliant software. So employees, when they walk in at the reception, there's our own library software. They can check in or check out books. We really encourage learning. Another thing we did recently is Learn Day. What happens here is we dedicate 1 day a month to be Learn Day. You do not have to do work for the company. Instead, you can spend that entire day curled up on a beanbag reading a book, and it's okay by us. And you're doing that during your work hours. So the first Friday of every month is simply Learn Day. Employees take turns teaching or being students. So someone might create a class on photography or Photoshop. Another person, Learn Days actually happened yesterday in the office because it was the first Friday of November. So there were classes on copywriting. There were classes on photography. Employees teaching employees. It doesn't have to be always connected to their job as long as it's something that helps them become better at their job. So it's a beautiful practice, and again, it helps people grow, and employees love that. I found that of the 4 criteria, the smartest people I interviewed consistently put the most number of checks in the box for growth. Another way to foster growth is to encourage people to constantly learn on the job. Abraham Lincoln said, if you were to give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. Now think about how we tend to work, right? Let's take something like customer support. You do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again because you have all these emails to respond coming in. But what that does is it makes you operate at a certain baseline. What if you could give employees a clear block 1 day every month, just let the emails pile up. Instead, think about how you can innovate on responding to customers. So we do that, and what we found is it increases the baseline. So overall, our efficiency and our productivity starts going higher and higher and higher. And soon our employees become top in their industry, whether it's customer support or coding, because they take time away from just blindly chopping the tree to sharpen their axe. Do you guys get this? Important stuff. I want to share with you a quick video from one of our employees who joined Mindvalley, where he talks about just how much he learned while in the company. Sound, please.
Let me tell you what happened after being 2 years at Mindvalley. Basically, I started my own business, which now it's called Mindvalley Hispano. We did over $500,000 in sales the first year, and I was that type of guy that was always kind of with ideas in his head and trying to go into business, but I never did it. If you have an idea that you want to get rolling and you want to have skills to make it work, come to Mindvalley. You will have an awesome time here. You will learn how to create a plan, how to execute against that plan, and how to innovate. What else can I say? Basically, coming to Mindvalley was hugely transformational for my career. I can say that here I became an entrepreneur. So I hope to see you here soon, and good luck.
So let me tell you something about, thank you. That was Juan. Juan now is the co-founder of Mindvalley Hispano, which is our Latin operations. We became partners. I turned him into an entrepreneur, gave him the license for Latin America. He now employs 25 people in Argentina. He started with us from ISEC as a fresh college graduate. And now he's responsible for a good chunk of our revenue. Brilliant man. Notice that video, right? We put that video on YouTube. So here's another tip. While you're asking people to put up video cover letters on YouTube, if you have existing employees, film them. Ask them to talk about why they love your company. Put that on YouTube. Did you notice the animation by the side of that video? The girl who made that was the girl who put in that 300-hour hand-drawn animated film. So talent supporting talent to help you get talent. One more thing about that video that's worth noticing. Can anyone tell me what was on Juan's t-shirt? Swim, bike, run. While at Mindvalley, Juan, he had a mentor. That mentor encouraged him to take part in the marathon because Juan was a little obese. So he did. Now Juan has run multiple Ironmans and triathlons. He's one of the most fit individuals I know because we encourage growth. So many people at Mindvalley become marathon runners. Right now we have a group of people who are going to be climbing to Everest Base Camp, all because of just how much they want to grow while they're in the company. And the cool thing about growth is that it's infectious. When one person runs a marathon, you want to do it as well. So we constantly have our employees pushing and elevating each other like that. And it's really exciting to see. When you join Mindvalley, you don't just become top in your specific skill. You become healthier, fitter. You start dressing better. You lose weight. All because of this huge focus on growing and becoming the best damn individual and human being you can. These are all employees who joined us, who now run their own business. We invested in these businesses. So we've been able to take our company and expand to places like Italy, the Arab world, India, Estonia, Russia, all by growing employees and then giving them a license and investing in them starting a Mindvalley company in their own country. It's an amazing way to grow yourself as an entrepreneur, investing in employees that you have helped grow. So let's do a quick summary of the growth systems, right? Education. Give people free access to all the books they want on Amazon. Doesn't cost you much, but it'll help your employees grow like crazy. Learn Day, once a month. Block off time so people can learn and grow. Now we go on to the second to last, meaning. Meaning simply means this. In the words of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the guy who wrote The Little Prince. Anyone here read The Little Prince? One of my favorite books of all time. So he said, if you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood and don't assign them task and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. You want to give people a big picture that inspires them, specifically a big picture that shows how they can contribute to a better world. Human beings are goal-driven organisms. We function best when we are given a task to do, especially a task where we can aspire to complete. Somehow we tend to have this thing in our brain about completing tasks. This is why computer games work so well when you collect badges or points for simple little pointless gestures. They help feed that goal-driven mechanism in our brain. So what if you could apply this to your company as well? I remember talking to Richard Branson once. We were sitting in this island, and we had just finished dinner, and I had a few minutes with him, and I said, Richard, you've started 8 different companies in 8 different industries, and all 8 of these companies are worth over $1 billion. Few people have done that. If you could sum up your advice in one paragraph, what would you say? And this is what he said. It's all about finding and hiring people smarter than you, getting them to join your business, and giving them good work, then getting out of the way and trusting them. You have to get out of the way so you can focus on the bigger vision. That's important. But here's the main thing. You must make them see their work as a mission. Does that make sense to you guys? A lot of you guys here are entrepreneurs running businesses which are doing great things for the world. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have been attracted to Awesomeness Fest in the first place. Odds are your work, your business has a compelling mission. Ask yourself, how can I make this mission appealing to the people who work for me? We often forget that. We think people are driven by just salaries and perks. They are not. People care about that mission. They want to know that they are going to leave a legacy, do something that's going to make the world a better place. A 1958 Gallup study on men who retired late at 80 found this. 86% kept working because they found their work fun. But 93% kept working because they found their work meaningful. Meaning is so important to all of us. So, when I get my talent together, one of the things I make them understand is our strong mission. See, the problem with most people is that their problems aren't big enough. Most people are bothered by simplistic things. That guy or girl who won't text them back. Their mother who nags them all the time. Their car that needs a new paint job. What people need are bigger problems. How to solve poverty. How to create more efficient fuels. How to create new workplace culture. How to hack cities. How to create new types of foods that have greater nutritional content. Can you give your employees bigger problems so that the little things seem insignificant? When you do this, you've given them a gift because you've made them shift their focus on crap that keeps them mediocre to stuff that can make them legendary. Give your employees massive problems. Our problem is how can we get conscious business practices, conscious health and wellness practices to 1 billion people and create humanity 2.0 in the next 2 decades or so. That's what inspires the people who work at Mindvalley. And that's why those people at the back of the room are here at Awesomeness Fest. Well, also for the parties. We know we like that. But mostly for the mission. Now, you also want to continuously remind people of your mission. So here's how we do that. We have a blog. It's called customerlove.mindvalley.com. And every time we have a good letter or a note from a customer, we stick it up on the blog. And our customers range from grandmothers to people who work in the military. Every time they write to us, we share their story on the blog. We also get stories from Facebook. We get celebrities tweeting about us. All of this gets shared on the blog. But here's the thing. It's for our employees, not for our customers. We don't advertise that blog. It's not to show to other customers how great our products are. We put it up there because we want our employees to see what our customers are saying about our products. Because when they see that, studies have shown that it creates massive boost in engagement. Every time you share a customer testimonial with your employee, you've given them more fuel to do their job better and to do it well. But most of us forget this. We use customer stories to attract more customers. Try flipping that around. And if you want to see an example of this, just Google Customer Love Mindvalley, and you'll find that blog. So let's summarize meaning, right? A strong mission, have a compelling, inspiring mission. Remind the team of why they do what they do by creating an internal customer love blog. And now we come to what? What's the final one? Abundance, right? Except no. Here's the funny thing. People think they want abundance. Turns out they don't. We think people take a job for a salary. Turns out it's not important. Up to 75 grand, studies have shown that higher salaries lead to very little other boost in income. Once your needs are met, salary isn't important. What people really crave about, what people really want, what you really crave, what is your deeper underlying emotion is really significance. You think you want the higher salary to buy that fancy car. Really? You want that fancy car because it makes you seem significant. You think you want a higher salary because it makes you secure. It does in some ways, but after a certain point, it makes you feel significant. So what we do is we get rid of that salary question early and fast. We pay salaries that match the industry standard, but usually we pay slightly 10% above the industry standard for our city. Okay, so there are books such as Kelly's book, which gives you salary guides for whatever city you're in. You take a position, you look at that salary guide, you up it by 10%, and that's the end of the question. You're going to be paying industry standard and higher. But what you really give people is significant, and this is how people stay with you. I once had an employee, and this was back when we had a crap office, the one I showed you earlier, which was in a really shady part of Kuala Lumpur. And this employee, we were driving to the office, he was on the passenger side of my car, and he said, Vishen, I just got offered a job at McKinsey & Company, and it's going to be paying me 3 times what you're paying me. And I said, I'm so sorry to see you go. And he goes, no, I turned them down because I love what we're doing. That guy stayed with me for 2 more years. He went on to become one of Malaysia's top entrepreneurs. Today, he has invested in a Mindvalley company in Ombana, our first ever investor. Why did he stay with us and turn down McKinsey? Even though they were going to pay him 3 times as much, he was working on a project that made him feel incredibly significant. And because I made him feel significant, notice I was driving with him to work. So, how do you create significance? Well, it turns out there's a science to that too. First off, appreciation. You will not believe how much people crave appreciation. None of you will admit it, because when you say you want to be appreciated, it makes you seem what? Needy. But in reality, at our soul, we all want to be seen. We all want to be recognized. We all want to feel appreciation. So, Branson said this in a speech, like flowers flourish on water, people flourish on praise. How can you engineer a culture of appreciation? Turns out it's easy. At Mindvalley, what we built was a simple app called OneUp, where people could send each other little simple gifts like a colorful pony or a pile of money or fancy bananas and a little note of appreciation. So that's Joanna giving a note to Paulius, who's a photographer here at AFES. Love you, Paulius. Thanks for brightening my day. Simple things like that. And, of course, at Awesomeness Fest, we have sugar cubes. Since we started this system, we've had 20,000 love notes passed out on our system. It's called OneUp at Mindvalley. 20,000. On an average day, maybe about 40 love notes are passed out. So imagine if, on your average week, you're getting 2 to 3 love notes from your coworkers, little things on your desk or on your computer screen, just appreciating you. How would that make you feel? Well, you're going to get to experience it through sugar cubes that we do here at Awesomeness Fest, but it's the same model. Constant appreciation, making people feel recognized. Figure out how to engineer appreciation in your company. In my pocket right now, I have little notes of appreciation to pass to members of the AFES volunteer crew who have done like little cool favors for me this morning. That's how seriously we take appreciation. Now, if you want this software, go to work.com. It's a Salesforce company, and they have a tool to help you motivate your employees. It's not very expensive. Go ahead and try it out. We built our own software because we built this like years ago. But you can buy this for just a few dollars a month on work.com. Now, the second thing we do is the 3 most important questions. You guys have all done this exercise. Very simply, we ask employees to create a bucket list, but it's a special bucket list that asks them to think about what experiences they want in their life, how they want to grow, and how they want to contribute to the world. Experiences, growth, contribution. But what we do that's different is everyone's bucket list is stuck on a wall in plain sight for everyone else to see. So you get to see what every other person on your team aspires to be doing, what they want to do in their life. In short, it becomes a blueprint to the soul. Why it's important? Another Gallup study. People who agreed that their supervisor or someone at work seemed to care about them as a person were more productive, contributed more to profits, and were significantly more likely to stay with a company in the long term. All they had to do was feel that their supervisor or the company founder, which in this case is many of you guys, cared about them as a person. So here's how you would do that. Take the 3 most important questions, bring it into your company. We call it the blueprint for the soul. Every time I have lunch with someone, I ask them to bring their 3 most important questions. And as I'm having lunch with them, especially if it's a new employee, I go through that list and I figure out how can I contribute to their dreams. Now we are taking the system a little bit further. I was having, before I get to that story, by everyone sharing their ideas, we also create cross-pollination. Remember, there is no monopoly on dreams. You could see someone else's dream and decide that you want to add that to your list. Recently, a group of our employees decided to get together, and everyone who had visit Nepal on their 3 most important questions got together and did a trip to Nepal. Then we shared the photographs at our company all hands on deck meeting. And now next year, we're organizing another trip to Nepal, this time with as many as 20 employees. So it becomes viral, employees helping employees scratch off items on their bucket list. So here's what you need to do as a founder. You don't just apply the 3 most important questions. You go through the list of everyone and you figure out how can you help each individual employee. This is my to-do list from last week. We had a new batch of employees come in, so I went through everyone's 3 most important questions and I made a simple to-do list of how I could help, at least in some small way, each and every one of them. A simple item there might be, buy a Lonely Planet guide to Nepal for Nastya. She was a girl who put visit Nepal. Now I'm not buying her a ticket, I'm buying her a Lonely Planet guide, which costs 20 bucks. 20 bucks. But think about what it means to her, who's a new employee who just joined Mindvalley, a company with over 100 people, to randomly get a wrapped book on Nepal with a signed message from me saying, here's to your dreams, from her boss. It's not the book, it's 20 bucks. But she will remember that for the rest of her life. And for that 20 bucks, I probably just boosted her productivity by 20 to 30% for her entire lifespan as an employee. That simple tip, people, is worth millions of dollars in your life. Do it. All it takes is a book. Bill Jensen, now I got this idea from Bill Jensen. He wrote a book called Hacking Work. Bill was telling me, we were talking about Bill's new book, Future of Work. And I asked him, what's the future of work going to be like? And he said, the future of work is going to be where it's not just about employees engaged with a company's vision. Everyone is talking about how to get your employees engaged in your vision. It's going to be where the company is engaged in the employee's vision too. He says it has to be 50-50. Now that seems kind of like way out there, right? But if we are moving in that direction, the 3 most important questions is one of the best ways to make yourself engaged in an employee's vision. And again, hardly costs anything to implement, but creates a profound effect on people. You can get the exercise on Ombana if you want to have your employees do it. Just download it on Ombana app. So summary of meaning. A strong mission, have a compelling, inspiring mission. Remind the team why they do what they do. But now, what I want to share are 2 biggest culture strategies. So these 2 strategies are superbly important, and they bring everything together. If you can apply these to your companies, you already will take massive steps towards like attracting and motivating great talent. So the first thing is simple, team retreats. A lot of companies forget this, but team retreats have an amazing impact on companies. So what we do is once a year we take our entire team and we fly them to a paradise island. Now at that island we make them do 2 things. First, everybody gets together in terms of their departments, and we give them a full day, and we take them through a simple game where they get to brainstorm and hack their department, to think about new ideas that they want to put in to innovate on the way they do their job. They get to question the way things are done and figure out new ideas. Remember I spoke about Learn Day? That was an idea from our HR department who wanted to find a way to hack HR. So they came up with the idea of Learn Day. So when you hack your department, and remember, we put people in a 5-star resort, so we make it really fun for them. They get to brainstorm in a pool, they get to brainstorm in minimal clothing, whatever they feel best brainstorming in. Now, on the second day, you get to hack the business. This is really interesting. We ask employees to come up with new business ideas for Mindvalley to grow into. And think about it, right? We've invested in 7, 8 different employee companies. This is where those ideas come from. Thinking about new opportunities. Businesses die all the time because they don't innovate fast enough. Nokia used to make rubber boots. They innovated. They made mobile phones. Then they stopped innovating, and Apple crushed them. Nokia hardly exists as a well-respected company anymore. You must innovate to stay relevant. And here's why getting your employees to think about new business opportunities is such a great idea. So, again, they get to come together and brainstorm this. Now, I want to show you a quick video of what our team retreat looks like. Now, you don't have to do it in the lavish way we do it. Your team retreat could be 1 day. It could be it could be a trip to a park for 1 day. But if you bring in the same culture, brainstorming, and then, guess what we do in the evenings? Party, right? You guys are used to that. you can have an amazing impact on on your employees. So here's a quick 2-minute video of our team retreat. How cool is that? Now, you know why I showed you that video? If I took away the word team retreat, wouldn't that look a lot like Awesomeness Fest? That's where we got Awesomeness Fest as an idea from. We started Awesomeness Fest because our team retreat started getting so popular. My friends who were entrepreneurs asked me if they could come and join in. So I started bringing these guys in, and then it got a little bit too crazy because my friends are even crazier than my employees. So I decided to start Awesomeness Fest, which was a replica of the Mindvalley team retreat. And now that we do Awesomeness Fest in the East, we changed our team retreat. So it's less guest speakers, it's more brainstorming, because our employees get to listen to the guest speakers at A-Fest East anyway. But that was the start of Awesomeness Fest. That's how we started. Did you notice the beach? Did you notice the costume parties? Did you notice the happy, cheery, smiley, beautiful people? See? So you can apply this too. Team retreats create happiness through fun and bonding, growth through training, opportunities to reinforce meaning. You get to stand in front of your team and explain why you do what you do. And feelings of significance, because guess what? You just rewarded a whole bunch of people by treating them in a beautiful way. So team retreats are incredible, but the second thing we do, and this doesn't cost you anything to implement, but it's powerful. We do this every single week on Tuesday, and it's our all hands on deck meeting. So we call it the Awesomeness Report. And it starts with this really majestic, loud musical slideshow. And then from there, I take to the stage, I put up the date, and I talk about all the awesome things that the team has done in the last 7 days. And it becomes a celebration and exercise in gratitude for all the things that have just happened. So add an awesomeness report, and that is our Hall of Awesomeness where we have this done. Now, you don't need a Hall of Awesomeness that looks that majestic. When we first started this, we were operating out of a house, and this was done from a simple, cramped little living room. But it started simplistically. So we celebrate employees. Someone may have launched a new product or a new design. We put it up on the slide, and we celebrate them. So the first thing is celebrate victories. Every team in Mindvalley gets a professional photo taken so they feel special. We put up a picture of the team, and we put up what the team did. So again, every team has that photo. Then we share customer love. We share stories from our customers, stories where agents treated them well, or stories about how much they love our products. If an employee broke a high score, that means, let's say our SEO guy hit a new high score for SEO, we share that as well, and we celebrate. And whenever a new score is broken, we get that employee to go and ring a bell that is called the bell of awesomeness, that is only to be rung in moments of sheer and total awesomeness. So when you ring that bell, it means you just broke a record. It's huge. It's like winning a computer game, because the average person will maybe get to ring that bell once a year. But when they do, it's a big, big, big thing. Now, in the paper on memetics and social conditioning by Paul Marston, he says, when we are unsure how to react to a stimulus or situation, these theories suggest that we actively look for others for guidance and consciously imitate them. By doing the awesomeness report, you are celebrating best behavior. You're celebrating victories. You're celebrating your best staff. Guess what happens? Everyone else starts imitating that. So you elevate the performance levels of your company. Now, the second thing we do at the Awesomeness Report is we make people envision the future. We simply talk about where we want to go as a company, our new dreams, our new goals. This creates another really positive psychological thing. By creating positive visions of the future, studies show it improves group performance, reduces conflict, creates more cooperation, and creates greater impact at the skill at hand. All of this is contagious, right? Your engagement level. So a lot of people think that yawning and the flu are contagious. Turns out it's also anxiety, boredom, stress, confidence, excitement. All of these things are contagious. So by taking these things and focusing on what you want to be contagious within your company, you use that awesomeness report to culture hack your entire team. And you do it every single week. Remember, whatever emotion you as the founder or CEO come to work with becomes contagious. So you gotta always make sure that you're bringing in your best emotions. Now, awesomeness reports create happiness through celebration, growth through training, opportunities to reinforce meaning, and feelings of significance because people get recognized. So in summary, I've covered now 7 things that you guys can do to create great work culture, right? How to attract, how to find the right fit, how to create values, happiness, growth, meaning, significance. I'll let you take a picture of that slide if you want. And we'll make this available. So our goal is to create the world's greatest workplace by 2020. We still have about 7 years to go. And we're still innovating very rapidly in culture and employee engagement and how to design companies. But so far we've been having really great success, really great growth, attracting constantly great people, and it's been fun. The greatest thing is just how much joy it brings you as a founder to be able to work in a place where you love the people you work with. So why is it that we do this? Well, firstly, our goal at Mindvalley is to spread enlightened ideas. And it's not just about personal growth ideas. We think one of the greatest ways to create humanity 2.0, a new way for human beings to live, to thrive, is to focus on that part of humanity where we spend 70% of our waking hours, and that's work. In the future, jobs, I believe, so we are talking 2050, jobs are not, you will not pick positions just because of salary. Jobs will be rated on how much happiness, growth, meaning, and significance a position can provide an employee. Money will be secondary. So I like to create things for the world, not as it is today, but the world that is going to come to us decades from now. And with Mindvalley, what we're trying to create is a future model of how companies should work, because we believe this is the step forward. And it's a more enlightened model because it speaks to the core of what all of us want, to be recognized, to be happy, to love what we do, to have meaning in our lives. 70% of our waking hours are spent at work. So we think it should be the damn happiest, most joyful moments of our lives. And if this can work in Kuala Lumpur, it can work anywhere, especially for you guys that live in such amazing, beautiful locations. If you want to learn more about this, go to Mindvalley Insights. That's our free blog where we freely share a lot of ideas on culture and how we run our business. We love to share what we do because, like I said, we want to get this out to people. And of course, you can always contact me, Twitter, Facebook. I love answering questions, and this is really one of my passions, hacking work and creating Work 2.0, not just for Mindvalley, but for companies all around the world. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed that presentation.